As a security leader, you're not just a technical expert. You're a strategic advisor who must navigate the complex intersection of cybersecurity, law, and global business. One area where these responsibilities converge is in import-export controls and transborder data flow. In today's connected world, technology doesn't stop at borders, but unfortunately, laws often do. That means if your systems, services, or data cross international boundaries, you need to understand the legal and regulatory controls that apply. In this session, you'll learn what these controls are, why they exist, and what your role is in ensuring compliance, especially in cloud-based, globally distributed environments. As a security leader, you're expected to do more than secure networks. You must also understand how your systems, software, and data interact with global regulatory environments. One area where this becomes especially critical is in managing import-export controls. These are government-imposed regulations that control the international transfer of sensitive technologies and services. If your organization operates across borders, you need to know what's subject to these laws and ensure you're following the rules. When it comes to hardware, you must pay close attention to components like secure network routers, encrypted USB drives, and specialized chips. Some of these may be classified as controlled technologies and require export licenses. If you're shipping or sourcing this equipment across international lines, it's your job to confirm whether legal approvals are needed. For software, the spotlight falls particularly on cryptographic tools. Encryption is considered a dual-use technology, which means it has both civilian and military applications. You need to understand whether the software you're deploying, especially if it includes encryption, is subject to export controls. Sending software to certain countries, or even providing access to foreign nationals, could trigger export regulations. When dealing with technical data or intellectual property, you have to treat documentation, designs, and internal architectures with care. Sharing protected design blueprints, source code, or configuration guides with foreign partners or vendors, even digitally, may be regulated. You must ensure proper classification and access control, especially if the data was developed under license or government contract. Even services, such as consulting engagements, training, or system integration work, can fall under export controls if they involve sensitive systems or knowledge transfer. If you're working with international clients on secure environments, you need to verify whether your work requires a license or if there are restrictions on what you can legally share. Your responsibility as a security leader includes identifying whether any asset, hardware, software, data, or service is moving across borders and whether that movement is compliant with applicable laws. Ignorance is not a defense when it comes to international trade regulations. By understanding and enforcing import-to-export controls, you not only protect your organization legally, but also reinforce trust and operational integrity in a global marketplace. As a security leader, you're expected to understand not only how encryption works, but also why it's treated differently under the law. Encryption technologies are considered dual use in many countries, meaning they have both civilian and military applications. Because of this, they fall under strict regulatory controls, and mismanaging their distribution, especially across borders, can lead to serious legal consequences. In the United States, strong encryption is governed by the Export Administration Regulations, ER. This means if your organization builds, uses, or sells products with robust cryptographic capabilities, you may need a license from the Bureau of Industry and Security, BIS, before exporting them. You must ensure that you classify and document cryptographic tools properly to avoid unintentional violations. Some countries, such as North Korea or Iran, are completely off limits when it comes to exporting encryption or sensitive technologies. These embargoed nations are restricted under international law, and any attempt to engage in transactions involving cryptographic systems with these countries could expose your organization to fines, blacklisting, or even criminal liability. Even within your own borders, you're not off the hook. Sharing encrypted software or data with foreign nationals, whether they're contractors, partners, or employees, can trigger deemed export rules. This means the transfer is treated as though it happened outside the country, and the same legal restrictions apply. As a CISSP, you must know who is accessing your encrypted systems and from where. Encryption isn't just a technical control, it's a regulated technology. As a CISSP or GISP, it's your job to ensure that its use, storage, and distribution comply with local and international laws. That includes understanding export licensing, cloud usage across borders, and the legal status of every user interacting with encrypted data. Protecting your organization means protecting it legally as well as securely. As a security leader, your responsibility extends far beyond securing local networks. You must also understand how data moves globally and what risks that introduces. Transborder data flow refers to the transfer of personal or sensitive data across international boundaries, whether physically, for example, backup tapes, or digitally, for example, cloud-based platforms. This topic is especially important in today's world of cloud computing, global workforces, and decentralized infrastructure. One of your key considerations is data residency. That is, identifying where your data is physically stored. Many cloud providers replicate data across data centers in different countries. You need to ensure that sensitive data is not being stored in jurisdictions where privacy protections are weak or where foreign governments can easily compel access. Next, you must account for data sovereignty, the idea that data is subject to the laws of the country in which it is stored. Even if your organization is headquartered elsewhere, local regulations may apply. For example, data stored in China may be subject to government review under that country's cybersecurity laws. As a security leader, it's your role to ensure the legal implications of storage decisions are fully understood and accounted for. Then there's cross-border compliance, which is about understanding which privacy and data protection laws apply when data moves across borders. If you're handling personal data of EU citizens, for instance, you must comply with GDPR, which restricts the transfer of personal data to countries without adequate protection. In such cases, you need to implement safeguards like standard contractual clauses, SCCs, or binding corporate rules, BCRs, to remain compliant. You're not just protecting data, you're navigating a global legal minefield. As a security leader, it's your job to track where data lives, how it flows, and what laws govern its journey. By understanding transborder data flow and implementing the right controls, you ensure not just compliance, but trust and resilience in a hyper-connected world. As a security leader, your job isn't just to protect systems. It's to understand where risk intersects with regulation. When it comes to global data flow and technology movement, you're expected to be the one asking the hard questions, seeing around corners, and preventing compliance missteps before they happen. You need to start by identifying which technologies and data assets in your environment are subject to regulation. That includes encrypted tools, sensitive IP, customer data, or anything else that might trigger compliance or export control requirements. Next, it's your responsibility to classify those assets appropriately. You can't manage what you haven't labeled, whether it's commercial software, open source components, or confidential business logic. Classification helps you determine whether import-export laws apply and how to handle those assets. You should also monitor and document where your data and services reside, especially in the cloud. With data often replicated across global data centers, you need to know the physical and legal locations of your assets, because that's what dictates which laws apply. Collaboration is key. You must work with legal and compliance teams to ensure you're aligned on license requirements, jurisdictional risks, and international agreements. You're the security voice in a conversation that includes law, contracts, and business risk. On the technical front, you're expected to implement controls that safeguard how data moves across borders. This might include geo-blocking, data masking, logging, and encryption. These aren't just security best practices. They're how you enforce compliance through technology. Finally, you need to educate your teams. Many violations happen because someone didn't know better. Whether it's a developer sharing code with an offshore partner or a project manager sending files overseas, you're responsible for making sure everyone understands what's allowed and what isn't. In a global, cloud-first world, surprises are the enemy. You can't afford to be unaware of where your data is, who can access it, or what laws apply. As a security leader, you're the line of defense between business innovation and legal risk, and your clarity, preparation, and leadership make all the difference. So, what's your leadership takeaway? The moment your organization goes global, whether through cloud adoption, outsourcing, or customer expansion, you step into a world where laws and risks change from one country to the next. As a CISSP or GISP, you must guide your teams to not only secure data, but also move and store it responsibly, in line with both security policy and international law. In short, it's not just about what you're protecting, but where, how, and with whom you're protecting it. That's the mindset you need to lead securely in a connected world.